In this video, we will review how to generate and understand the weekly summary report. So the weekly summary report, as you know, is a report also known as the WSR. So it's a series of reports that you will be turning in to your supervisor on a weekly basis. These reports are due on Wednesday. Each supervisor, I believe, has their own deadline for which time the reports are due, but they're always due on Wednesday. So I'll show you how to go ahead and generate the report. Under the report section, we're going to go to custom reports and then the weekly summary report. So I am just going to do this for Cedar Crest. I'm going to run it for today, and then also they have a really awesome check for warnings. So I would recommend doing this when you're first getting acclimated to understanding and correcting the report. So once I view the report, this warnings, it's basically going to help you detect any errors in your report. So this is really great because it has no warnings to report. But as we go through the report, I will highlight some of the common mistakes people make, and those mistakes will be displayed here. So it'll show you what exactly the issue is and how to fix it. So this report is really handy. So on the next page, we have the actual report. So this is for Cedar Crest Apartment. We have the property code right here and the number of units and the date you ran the report. We also have the property address right here, the manager information right here. So one of the most important areas in the report is the status as of the end of the week. So this right here, it's almost like a summary of the weekly summary report. So this report is very detailed. It's going to basically show the owner exactly what happened that week. So anything from walk-in traffic, prospect communication, new rentals, any rentals that went on notice, and any type of vacancies that we have. So how to read this report? So we'll just go from the top. So we have the total number of units, which is 40. We have 0 vacant units. So this property is 0% vacant, meaning that it's 100% full, which is really great. So that means that this manager did a great job of leasing up all of her units, and now she has less work because she doesn't have to worry about the leasing aspect of it. If we did have any vacancies, it would be listed right here. And rent ready. So what this means is if the unit is ready to be rented. So we could have a unit that is vacant that is not ready to be rented. So maybe it's still in like the renovations phase. Maybe maintenance still has a couple more things that they need to do. So if this unit is not rent ready, what will need to be happened is we will need to have the date when that vacant unit will be rent ready. But since this unit, we don't have any vacancies, this is fine right now. So it looks like we do have one property on notice, and that will be displayed right here. So it's not a new notice, because if it was a new notice, it would be displayed right here. But this property went on notice, let's see, 10/15. No. So this property went on notice a couple weeks ago, and it looks like the move out date, which was right here, they'll be moving out on 10/15/2020. It's unit 216, and it's a 2+1. This unit is not pre-rented. So we really have one available unit right here. So this availability, how this calculates is it's always going to be vacant, the number of vacant units, plus the number of units on notice minus the pre-rentals. So if we were to have, say, one vacant and one on notice, we would have 2 availabilities. But if that unit, one of the units was pre-rented, so if this was a 1 right here, how it would read would be 1 plus 1 minus 1. So we would have 1 available. This side right here is for any cancellation, so any canceled rentals. So let's say that we had someone who was going to pre-rent a unit and they ended up canceling, it would show right here. And canceled notices, so let's say that someone went on notice with the intentions of moving, but then they decided they actually don't want to move and they want to continue to stay here. That would be a canceled notice, and that would be a really great thing. So this net change is a really important number because it will show us whether or not there was any significant movement that happened within the week. So since this is 0, that means nothing happened. So we didn't have any new notices and we didn't have any new rentals, which isn't a bad thing, especially since this property is 100% full. So let's say this net change was a negative thing. So let's say that we had a vacant unit and we had a -1. So what that means is that vacant unit was pre-rented. So a negative is actually a good thing. That means that we have one less unit that's on the market right now. A -1 could also come from a canceled notice. So if someone decides that they want to stay, that is actually a good thing. One less unit on the market. So any negatives is actually a positive. Conversely, if this net change was positive, that would mean that there was a new notice this week or a canceled rental, which is not good. When we get a new notice, that means more work for us to get that unit clean, prepped, and ready, and then leased. Same with the canceled rental. So actually having a positive net change is really not that great. So this net change is kind of hard to understand, but a really great rule of thumb is for any positive net change, there's going to be either someone who just went on notice or a canceled rental. Any negative net change means that we had something that was just pre-rented or we had a canceled notice. So that's kind of the quickest way to read that. If we had any traffic, anyone who came in who submitted a credit check, they will be displayed right here along with the leasing agent name. We have deposits this week, so how much money we received from rent will be right here, and then we have delinquent rent, so how much money is still owed to us. Right here we also have evictions, so whether we just initiate it, whether it's in the pending stage, so it's, we're going through that court process right now, and then this last stage is evictions, people who have been locked out. So this section right here goes hand in hand on the next page with right here. So if we have any units that are, if we had, one in any of these areas, what we'd see on the next page is that unit number also in this area right here. So we have prospect communications right here and walk-in traffic right here. When you add those prospects in and you notate whether you found them on Craigslist or whether they were just a walk-in, all of that will be displayed in here. We also have market rent for this property. So with a renovated 1+1, a normal 1+1, we'll have that market rent for the units. Down here, new notices will be displayed right here. So the unit, the move in, move out, and the reason why they're leaving right here. Just general units that are on notice, so they aren't new this week, but they have been on notice for a while. It will be displayed right here. Comments right here, so we're going to list the asking rate for the unit. So as we can see, we have that 2+1 right here, and it's upstairs, so we have the asking rate right here. So 1,550 is the asking rate, and there is a concession and 1,000 off move-in. Right here is the exterior lighting inspection. So you'll need to go around your property at night to check and make sure that all of the lights are working properly. So you're going to put the date that you did that inspection, and then whether there are any outages or not. This needs to happen every week prior before submitting the WSR. So make sure that date is up to date, and if there are outages, you could just put outages and then make sure you go ahead and submit that work order. So moving on to the second page. Actually go down first. Okay, so new rentals, anything that has been pre-rented, which will also be displayed right here. Any new rentals will be displayed right here. The unit that was rented, when the old tenant moves out, when the new tenant moves in, how many days were lost or how many days it was on the market without anyone being in it, the date it closed, the size and the rent, the name of the prospect, and whether a special was applied or not. So all new rentals will be right here. To this bottom, we have this week's move in and move out schedule, so whether someone was moving in or whether someone was moving out. And then lastly, we have this vacancy right here, which also connects on the second page, right up here. And since we don't have any vacancies, this area is blank, but if we did have a vacant unit, that would be listed right here, the unit, the date it became vacant, the type of unit it is. We have next week's move-in schedule, so who's moving in and who's moving out. So this disclaimer right here is super important to fill out, because this disclaimer is going to have all of the information from the vacant units, on the units on notice, and the units in evictions. Since this property is full, it's pretty empty, we only have on notice right here the unit 216 right here. So any units that are on notice will need to be listed in the disclaimer, same as any units that are on vacant needs to be listed here. So why we put this here is to notate when these units are going to be rent ready. So when these units are going to be available for someone else to come in and move into the unit. Just because, like I mentioned before, just because a unit is vacant doesn't mean that it's necessarily ready to be leased. So we like to provide those dates to ownership so they know exactly when they can expect someone to be moving in, and it just sets those expectations for both of us. So this unit that's on notice, the rent ready date is to be decided. Since this tenant isn't moving out for a while, we still have some time to get that date ready. So a couple weeks before that tenant moves out, we should have the manager should have performed a walkthrough, so we'll know exactly when that unit will be ready once we get that date from maintenance. And then we have amenity right here. So this just notates parking. So how you read it is 12 out of the 21 spots are available. 12 out of the 21 spots have been rented at a rate of $25 per month. So this will also be updated as needed. And any notes can be done right here. So maybe applicable notes would be like if you had a rent ready date that just needed to be pushed back for some problems with the reno, you can put those notes in here. So that is how you understand the weekly summary report. What we can do is we can pull a couple more and walk through those just so you can get a feel for reports that show different information. Okay, so I pulled a couple different reports. So this one is for Creekside. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to look at this just so I know exactly what I could expect for the report. So 52 units total, 0 vacant, so 100% full, which is great. Looks like they have 2 on notice, and I see a net change of 1, so a positive being a bad thing. So this tells me that either we had a canceled rental, which we don't, so the only other option is that we had a new notice, which we do. So I see that net change of 1, I look at this new notice, and it makes sense. So unit 201 is going to be relocating, and they'll be moving out on 10/3. So I also noticed that 2 units are on notice. We have this unit 201, which is right here, awesome. And then also we have unit 111. So this unit must have been on notice a week prior. So it looks like they will be moving out on 9/26, and we have the type of units here, which looks good. We have the lighting inspection that has been checked recently, and then we have the asking rates for those units right here. So this all looks good. So let's go on to the second page. No vacancies, and then those 2 units that are on notice, we have rent ready dates. So for that unit 111, it's going to be rent ready on 10/7. And then for that other unit that just went on notice, it looks like the manager performed a walk through and submitted the walk sheet on 9/8. So this WSR is really perfect. She didn't have a rent ready date, but what she did is she provided the date she sent the walk sheet in. So that's really great. So that'll give us a gauge of when we can expect that rent ready date from maintenance. So if you don't have a rent ready date yet, just go ahead and put the date that you have sent the walk sheet in, or the date that you are going to be sending the walk sheet in. So next we have Delmar. So when I look at this, we have a total of 48 units. 3 of those units are vacant. None of them are rent ready. Net change of 0, so no new rentals and no new notices this week. So as I'm looking at this, we have some of the asking rates that are already in here, and it looks like we have a pretty generous special as well. So let's go ahead and roll this down. Let's go to the next page. So those 3 units that are vacant are right here. So 205, 305, and 316. So these guys have been vacant for a while. So this has been vacant since June, and this one has been vacant since July. So these should be rent ready pretty soon. So 205, it should be ready on 9/4. 316 should be ready on 9/4, and then unit 305. So this should actually be up on this top line right here, since it's not on notice, it's vacant. So this one is actually incorrect. We have a rent ready date, which is great, but this should actually be on this top line. So I think what happened is this unit was on notice and it probably just moved out pretty recently. So this manager just didn't have the time yet to put this up on the top line. That should go there. And then we have pet rent and parking. So other than right here, this looks good to go. So once the 4th comes around and these units are hopefully rent ready, the manager will go ahead and notate it as being rent ready. So we would see unit 205 and unit 316 as being RR, and up on the top it would be 3 vacant and 2 rent ready. Okay, so that's a quick run through of how to kind of just understand the WSR report.